Today we're talking about essentialism as it pertains to your home. Some people confuse essentialism with minimalism. Minimalism being very sparse decorations or very minimal amount of stuff in your home. That's not what essentialism is. Essentialism is having things in your home that have meaning to you, that give energy to you, that make you feel joy, things like that. So you could actually have a maximalist home, something that has a lot of things in it. I saw a lady on Instagram once and she collected dolls or something, and she just had dolls everywhere in her apartment, and it was very busy, but the dolls that she had were something that brought her joy. And in terms of decor and stuff, maybe you have a lot of things that you've collected from traveling. My parents are a good example of that, but that means something to you and aren't just there to look pretty. Essentialism is simplifying. It's not simplified in terms of how much stuff you have, but in the meaning that the stuff that you do have holds for you. Everything has a purpose. In this book that I have in my collection called The Inspired Home, there is a quote that goes something like, your home shouldn't say something about you, but it should move you to feel a certain way, to act a certain way, to create things, to whatever. One is about what you've made so that you can incite other people to feel a certain way about you, and the essentialist way would be to have things that are for you personally. And so that's what I believe in, and that's what I try to create and cultivate in the homes that we have lived in. There's a quote in architecture that goes, form follows function, and this is along similar lines in that you live with things based on the function that they have for you in your life. It's not just about aesthetics. So you're not just gathering things because you think it looks good, because you think that when people look at your house, they'll be impressed. You gather things in your home that you love and that make you feel joy, and that, again, will make you want to do things, and you'll actually just use them in your home. So obviously, it makes sense to work with what you have. I mean, that's all you can really do. And we've lived in 4 different homes, or I've lived in 5 different homes. No, I've lived in 6 different homes over the course of my life, 2 when I was growing up, and then 4 as a married partner with my husband. And I feel like we've learned things along the way. And the house that we are currently living in, it was a rushed move. We moved here very quickly. We moved to a certain area because my son was living in that area, and we helped him a lot, so we came to this spot. In terms of the house, it is a lovely home. It is very beautiful. The thing is, when we moved here, they were trying to sell the furniture with the house, because the couple that lived here before, they were building a home, and so they didn't want to take anything with them because they were going to be living in a temporary place for a while, so they didn't want to bring anything. So they wanted us to buy the furniture. We happened to like the furniture, so we bought it, and there is a lot of stuff here that isn't things that I have bought. So working with that palette, it has definitely transformed over the few years that we've been here. It's not as, I would say, as this house was, I think it was in a magazine at some point. It doesn't look like that so much anymore because there's a lot of other things in the home. You know, when I look around my home, sometimes I get frustrated because I succumb to what I see out there in the media in something like Architectural Digest or House and Home magazine or things like that. I like those magazines and I like to watch those shows. But living in a home on a day-to-day basis is, when you look at that home that's being lived in, it doesn't look the same as it does if you were staging it for a magazine shoot. And I think that that's really important to remember, because it's like the people that you see on the cover of magazines, they, have been styled, they've got makeup, they have fake eyebrows and eyelashes and lips and all of this stuff. And it's you as a human often look at those things and are frustrated because there's no way you can be that. It's not even natural. But the same thing goes for a home, in that you see all these beautiful things in magazines, and then you see your own home. And even if it's a beautiful home, this is a beautiful home, once you start living in it and adding things that are meaningful to you to the home, it doesn't look that way anymore. And so I say to myself, don't be frustrated. This is how your home is supposed to look and how it's supposed to exist, because that's what functions for you and your family, and the things in it bring you joy. And I don't necessarily mean pillows and things like that. So for this home in particular, because it already came with a lot of furniture, I feel like it's sort of like two homes in one. The home that was here before from the family that lived here before, and then what we brought to it. So there's an extra layer of life going on in this home. That's okay with me. If I was doing it from scratch, it might not look exactly like this, but I can appreciate the family that lived here before, and actually I do kind of like that. I like a sense of history in my home. This isn't an old home, but it definitely has a sense of history in that another family lived here, and we have a sense of who they were just based on the things that were in here. Another book that I want to show you that I really, really love is called Life Unstyled. This book is all about working with what you have, embracing the quirks that have come into your home based on the things that you love, things that aren't picture perfect, the imperfections in your home and in your lifestyle and everything. That is what makes your home unique. And if you look in this book, it's pretty busy. Like, it doesn't look minimalist at all, but there's things in it. It just looks like the pictures in here look very inviting because they look like someone interesting lives there. That's what it looks like to me. And if I wanted someone to say something about my house, I would rather they said, it looks like interesting people live in that house, versus, oh, they have such a nice house, they have great style. I've always been one who hates styling. I just don't like it. You can have nice things, but I'm not styling anything. I'm just living with the things that, like I've said, have functioned for me. Some of them are nice, some of them are not nice. If you live life with style, then you don't need to be styling anything. That goes for you and your home. Also in the Inspired Home, another great book, which I've already mentioned, is the idea of non-decorating, which I fully believe in. One thing I have a pet peeve about, we do have them in this house, throw pillows. I guess we use them to lean on sometimes, but I think people just get throw pillows so they look nice on their couch, and then they move them out of the way when they're actually sitting there. I don't know. Throw pillows drive me insane. Even though we have them in this house, I don't like throwing things away and just getting rid of stuff for, I guess I can take them with me. So non-decorating is a concept that has to do with time and experiences. Most people will get their house and then it'll be like, I gotta do everything and everything's gonna be ready all at one time. And then it's ready, and that's how it's gonna be. That is the complete opposite of non-decorating and an unstyled home and essentialist living and all of that stuff. As you live and go out into the world and experience things and travel and meet people, or just go to different places and find the things that you love, and they don't even need to be like, people might think, oh, pictures or antiques, and they can be those things, but they can also be things like, we have so many musical instruments in this home because my children are all musicians. We have dog toys. We have dogs. Those to me are elements of the home. They add to the home. They add to the experience of home over and above just the couch and the pictures on the walls and stuff like that. But it can be the couch and it can be the pictures on the walls. I have one couch that my parents bought from a thrift store years ago, and they had it in their home, and I just loved it. It was an old, it's in our business now, it's not in this house, but it's a teal leather couch with what do you call it? It's just an old leather couch that's a classic style. It's teal, which is kind of a really weird color to be, but because my parents had it and it reminded me of them, and they were going to give it away, so I took it, and I just love that couch. My husband hates it, I love it. It's in our business now, but it means something to me, and it reminds me of my parents, which is why I have it. But things like that, I didn't just buy it because I thought it looked nice. It reminded me of my family. Things in your home should accumulate naturally over time. So forget this idea of moving in and having everything decorated and styled and all finished. Your home should be filled with things that as you move around it and you encounter them, they should bring joy to you. And some sort of positive, inspiring feeling is evoked from you living in that environment. I read in one of these books that often your home is a reflection of your childhood. So things you experienced in your formative years could be good, could be chaotic. That just is what ends up being part of your home. But if you want to live in a happy home, a peaceful home, then you have to be really intentional about the things that you bring into it. And I think that reflecting back on things that you may have experienced when you were younger and inviting some of those elements into your home, but you definitely want to make sure that you're empowering the good memories and not giving energy to anything that was negative. So it's about empowering yourself when you were most free, when you weren't burdened with any sense of judgment from the world. That's what's good about memories from your childhood. So just make sure that that's the intention that you're drawing from when you're trying to cultivate and create your home. You don't want a house that triggers you because you were not intentional about what you brought into it. So let's take a look around and I'll show you some of the elements of this home I feel like speak to me, bring energy to our family and joy. So one of the obvious things, because we're into fitness and we have a gym and all of that kind of stuff, is all the fitness equipment. If you've seen our other videos, you would know that we have basically a gym in our living room. So the kettlebells and the dumbbells and the bench and all of the maces, and I'm not going to show you what to do with the mace. I can't swing that around in the house. It's not safe. Wait, this one's heavy. Just very basic mace hold for core stability. So things like that. There's prints. We have some clubs. Lots of different things that we're active and we use on a daily basis. So most people wouldn't have that in their home, but we do, and it just inspires us to be active. So that is an example of a house on top of a house. So none of that was here obviously before. It was a nice dining room table and couch and stuff, and then we just came and piled all this fitness equipment on top of all that. When I build my next home, I will create it in a way that there's better storage, better ways to have the fitness equipment readily available, but it just isn't just thrown everywhere. So we're just going to the basement now. I'm really just showing you three main things about this house that are examples of essentialist living in my mind. So the first was the fitness equipment, and there's still more of it down here, stuff like that. But when you come over to this side of the room, well, and also there are animals running around, you'll see them. And this side of the room is all of my son's band equipment. So his band practices here, he makes music, my daughter makes music, and so basically this is an in-house studio, and this is used all the time. And again, when we first moved in, it did not look like that. It was just a couch and it was nice open space, and now it's filled with stuff that we just use. Do I want to hide it? No. Would I like it to be a little better organized? Yes, and I would create a space that could sort of ensure that. Come on, you crazy animals. Now we're moving upstairs to another collection that we have of stuff. So this is a library that I'm building. On this side, we have our regular books, but on this side and on the floor, because there's not shelving and stuff made yet, and there are cats racing around, are all of the children's books that I've collected in the last 6 months. My parents were both teacher librarians for elementary school, and my husband and I are also both educated as teachers. So reading to children is a huge thing for us, and I'm looking forward to having grandchildren soon. So I wanted to be ready for that. I often shop at the thrift store, and that's one of the best places to buy any books. So if you're ever looking for books, don't go to the news store unless you absolutely can't find it. Go to the thrift store and look around. As you can see, there are hundreds of books here that I have, some of the best children's, all of the best children's books, to be honest. And I like them here. I look at them. I am excited to have them in my home. I'm excited to be able to read them to my grandchildren when they're born. I like to just look at them myself. I sort through them. They bring me joy just to have them and to read them. So it's not something that I feel the need to hide away somewhere. I like to have them out here. Again, would I like them to be a little better organized? Yes, I would. Will I do that? Yes, I will. But I'm not putting them on the floor. I'm going to put them on the floor because I like to have them. And if someone were touring around my house, it wouldn't bother me that they would see the books on the floor. That's part of my home. And I think for most people, they would be just like, oh, I can't. They shouldn't be on the floor. I'm going to have to hide them somewhere. We don't think that way. I love the books. They're going to be here, and that's just the way it is. So I think people just in general worry too much about what their home says about them to other people. And honestly, like, who cares? If you are living in your home and you want things there that you love and that you use and that give you energy for a better life, then that's how you should have it, and not worry about what anybody thinks.